Hypergamy is basically where you're looking for a partner, forming a relationship with a person that is higher status than you. And that could, for example, be a guy who's being stronger or have more money, have a better career, is more charismatic, or things like that. And this is often practiced by women. And it makes perfectly sense, in my opinion, and also from a biological standpoint, that women tend to always want to date up. Like they want to be with a leader, they want to be with a person who can provide for them and that they can feel secure about. What's your take about that?
Yeah, what you're saying is definitely true. In my opinion, both males and females are hypergamous. We're all hypergamous. It's just that the criteria are different. Because when you think about it, like if a guy could choose, let's say completely hypothetically, like any woman he wanted, like most likely she's probably going to be like one of the most beautiful and physically attractive females they could probably imagine. So, but then ask yourself the question, like, is that not status? A girl that most men want to, date or be with, like, is that not the person with the highest status? Is that not the female with the highest status? And if that's the one you prefer, is that not status chasing? So my contention is that, like, we're both hypergamous in that we chase the highest possible status partner we can get, but it's just a very important distinction is that the criteria are generally different. I mean, when it comes to females, it is very heavily tied into genetics. Like, are you born with Angelina Jolie genetics? Like, of course, there's surgery and like you can take care of yourself, and those can make a huge difference. But the thing about that is that when it comes to the male domain, looks are absolutely, let's keep it real, it's definitely a thing. It's much more tied to like problem-solving ability, because more effective problem solver is the more fit and it's the one that's more likely to be able to survive and to pass along his genes. And that's, of course, what would make him more high status and more desirable to the opposite sex. If you think that having like bad genes as a dude or like not being super attractive is like somehow like an anchor or like a ball and chain, it's not the case. Like there is so much you can do, both as a male and as a female, but like especially when you're a guy, because you must understand that it's so much more tied to external things and behavior and problem solving ability when you're a guy, which means that like having bad genes does not mean that you're lost, like you're not.
Yeah. There's definitely a different perspective also if you're a guy compared to if you're a woman. But in today's day and age, it just seems that like a lot of guys already have given up to a certain degree because they're maybe not that ambitious, or they don't have their finances on point, or they don't work out in the gym, or whatever it might be. They just think, it's hard for them to date women, but they fail to realize that if they work on themselves, they will have better options to attract women in the future. And that's the good thing being a guy, that you can build up your life. It takes time, but it's worth it because more women will find you attractive, basically.
You might have thought to yourself at some point that like, oh, it's so, unfair. Like I have no options compared to like the average female, and there's so much work you have to do and so many hoops you have to jump through to have like half of what they have. But what you also have to realize, most women will meet at around, maybe 30 to 35. Like they will meet a very real and serious wall in like the social sphere that you will not necessarily hit in the same way or at the same time or even at all. Even though they might have like an enormous amount of options, like in like say their 20s, like that you don't have, like not even close. You might have less options, but your longevity is greater. And like because your status as a dude, in fact everyone's status, material status, might increase if they don't completely lose themselves, might slowly increase gradually over time. Like you might not find that like the options available to you among the opposite sex is so rapidly is going to go down at some point in your mid-30s. Like you might actually find that it goes the opposite direction for you. And that's the other side of the coin on that.
Yeah. It's a little bit hard maybe in your 20s to date as a guy compared to if you're a girl, because you have so many options when you're a girl. There's also more guys in the nightclubs usually and on dating apps.
Media,
God. Exactly. But the thing is, unfortunately for women, the more time they spend being single, looking for the right man, they will hit the wall, as you said. But if you do the work as a guy, the time is your best friend, because then you can build up your life, and basically these things takes time, but it will give you more options at the end. It's not like you have a clock ticking like women do.
Not
and
in
that's
the same way.
not in the same way anyways.
So you can still...
Yeah.
Because you can still, in theory, like have kids, at 70. So that's just, there is a difference there. That it doesn't mean that it's necessarily a good idea to have kids at 70, but it is possible for you. You don't have the same wall for having natural children, biological children. So it's kind of a different situation.
Yeah. I think the big reason why a lot of guys are giving up is we're living in a society where there's so many distractions. It's so easy and so comfortable nowadays, just lying on the couch, watching Netflix or playing video games, and these games are addictive. You get just hooked like this, and also TV shows and you name it. You don't have to expand your comfort zone and work on yourself necessarily if you don't want to, but the consequences will be pretty bad if you don't work on, if you never work on yourself. Exactly. Yeah. What's your take?
Yeah, but it's just more like, if you don't change, things are not going to change. Yeah. So again, you can definitely be in that comfort zone for a long while, but it's if at some point you suddenly realize that you want something else or something more in life, it's definitely, there has to come a point where you start moving out of that comfort zone a little bit gradually, or maybe aggressively, but certainly something have to change from one thing to another in your mind.
Yeah. What's the problem is more guys is also becoming more lonely, and that's also
what do you think is the reason for that?
Social media, I think, and people, sorry to say, but people are also getting more lazy, and it's very hard to do the hard work because you can always take an easy choice and order fast food, just relaxing at home and don't work on yourself. It takes skills and discipline to work on yourself, putting yourself out in the gym, talking to people. And this is especially also the society we're living in, where it's like feelings before what is necessary to be done. What is required to go up and talk to people or hit the gym. Yeah, you don't feel motivated to do this all the times, but a lot of guys, I think especially, is they feel a certain way. Oh, now they don't go up and talk to people. Now it's not time to go to the gym. And these are just bad habits that stack upon each other, I think. So unless you develop discipline to go out, talk to people, and go to the gym, and focus on climbing up the career ladder or whatever, then it can be really hard to dig yourself out of that hole. And this is also especially important for women. I don't think a lot of women will date you if you're lonely, because it says a lot about your status as well. What's your opinion about that?
It definitely appears to be some sort of negative feedback mechanism that exists, where it seems like a lot of dudes seem to believe that there is no hope for them in that situation that they're in. Of course, the question is what has caused that. I don't know. You could theorize that it's a lot of different social factors have caused it, and of course I'm not sure when it started, but it definitely seems like there is such a situation. Also, one of the reasons I think so many young guys are seeking out things like what you're doing, they're seeking out people who seem to actually have something to offer, or seem to be able to remind them that they have something to offer, which they do, because maybe there's something missing in their lives that they didn't have, that where they needed to outsource that to other people, that there was something that didn't enforce that they actually had a shot in this thing called life. They needed to find someone else who could tell them and inform them that this is, listen, you have something to offer, you're not stuck. You're not trapped in a prison.
Yeah. The problem is also, if you haven't seen proof in your real life that you can actually change and work on these things, it can really be really hard for you if you're in that hole and self-pity and the victim mentality to get yourself out of that, because, as you said, it's a negative feedback loop for sure.
Here's a situation in which it might sometimes actually be worse if you have a friend circle than if you're just complete loner, because it might actually be that even if you decided to change your mind, your friends who have been around you always might be in a different place, and they might be different, and they might actually help reinforce this negative feedback loop.
That's also why you're here. Like, you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most, and that's true. You should strive to have friends that encourage you to become the best version of yourself.
Of course, that doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I also want to encourage guys, if you're feeling a little bit down, try to focus on just becoming 1% better in these areas, and start with small steps. Meet new people, engage with people, say yes to more things at your job, or go to the gym, try to talk to people there. If you do this every day or multiple times a week, then yeah, you will be a way better person 1 year, 2 years from now. And it's really worth the hard work to do all these things. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna advise people to do.
Yeah, that's a good point. Baby steps are, even though, and I would actually say with most things that involve sort of lasting improvement, like just aiming at small goals in the short term is perfectly good enough. Like, just aim for like being 5% better or 10% better. For example, I was at the gym today. I was thinking about okay, like visualize like the greatest physique you could possibly imagine, like your dream physique, whatever. Okay, whatever that is, just for now, just strive for like 5% of that or 10% of that. Just see if you can achieve that. And then just take, then once you get there, we'll take the next step from there. If you're dedicated and if you are motivated and you know what it is you want, like it's, time is your ally.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And to go full circle back to the hypergamy thing, it is worth working on yourself as a guy, because then you can also have more options and more develop this abundant mindset where you're meeting more women regularly, and they start to find you more interesting if you have at least something going for you. And then you can always like build up more of these things that will put you in a way better position to meet women. Yeah.